अखण्डमण्डलाकारं व्याप्तं येन चराचरं तत्पदं दर्शितं येन तस्मै श्रीगुरवे नमः। हरि ओम। ओम नमो भगवते श्री रामकृष्ण। Brother Purnanaji and dear devotees, it's nice to meet you here at the Dalgan Park. Actually, first time when we came here and we wanted to see whether we can conduct any retreat, and we are going around the place, and instantly we fell in love with this place. The place itself has got certain vibrations. That's how the places of pilgrimages have come up. It's not just any place can become a place of pilgrimage. There must be a very intense association with something divine. Then only that place becomes a focal point or attraction for the others. Though we all know that God is infinite, He is present everywhere. In all the places He is there. But in some spots, He is more manifesting His glory. That we all can know that. We all hear from every religion that visiting places of pilgrimage is a very big spiritual practice. So they separate some time in their life. So after 50, I will go to certain place. I will visit certain places. Like that people make up their mind. So that means there is a great energy in that particular spot. So here when we came, we found that people who are living with God have been staying in this place. And even now there is a old this missionaries place where you can see people who are always thinking how they can serve the society. Such excellent people were here, and even now they are. So we found it very important here. The nature also plays a very good role. The nature has given this place its wonderful abundance, all the things that you expect in a place where you conduct a retreat. So today, our theme is, as Maharaj has explained to you, and we have given the notice also, that practicing the divine presence. Are we actually having the idea that the divinity is with me? If you take an ordinary man, and if you ask him, when do you think of God? He will naturally say, on Sundays when I go to church, or on Fridays when I go to mosque, or on Monday when I go to temples. These type of things will be coming, but you will never get this idea that he can actually think of God all the time. But very, very few people can only tell you that they are living with God. God is kept for a particular day, for a particular time, and finished. So my job with God is over. And then God need not be thought of. Unless I go into some problem, some obstacle has come in my desire to be fulfilled, then again you run to God or to holy men. So is it possible, as Maharaj quoted the beautiful book, it's a very tiny book, The Practice of the Presence of God by Brother Lawrence. He was just a chef in a Christian monastery. He used to cook food for the other brothers. And not only cooking, washing the utensils and keeping himself all the time busy. And he became a saint. Several people used to write to Brother Lawrence about about their spiritual problems, and he would give them solutions which are very, very dramatic. And those things are there in the book, Practice of the Presence of God. I think everyone should have that book. If it is not, you don't have, at least download it from the internet. It's a free copy available. It's a tiny book, but then it's a wonderful book. So when you read that, he says that the divine personality that you think of, that you must think that it is with you. You can be with the divinity, and the divinity is within you or with you. How do you see that? You see, I can think of God, and I forget God several times. But do I have that idea that God is with me all the time? Or God is with me for a particular time? Generally we say when we sit for meditation, and when we do the meditation, I felt so full today that God is with me. So at that time I understand God is with me. But not at the other times. When I am walking in the gardens, I don't feel that. Why it is? So the divine companion feeling, when do you get? Or how do you get? Is there any conditions that are to be fulfilled before getting this companionship feeling? Before going into companion, as an introduction, I will tell you that the infinite God or the divinity, divine principle, in whatever name you call it, as we read the prayer today, which was written by Swami Vivekananda, one who is the Ahura Mazda, one who is the Buddha, like that the prayer came, went, you all have read it today. So, in that you find whatever name you call, we call it for clarification and for our own understanding, divinity. In that word divinity is a very beautiful word, divine, from the divine it has come. And that word itself is enough for us. You don't need to particularly postulate a particular deity or anything. Those things, let it be inside you. Whatever form of God you believe in, whatever name you believe in, let it be inside you. But we call it divinity. Now the divinity, companionship, is really something great. Why I am telling you? In Hinduism, when we are reading scriptures, then we are told that no companionship idea can come unless you develop a particular relationship with the other personality. If a person is to be friend to me, I must have a relationship with that person as a friend. If you want a companionship with your spouse, the spouse must be in relationship with you as a spouse. Likewise, children. My children, I have relation because I am the parent and they are the children. So the parent-children relationship comes in there. And there is no relationship at all. Say Barack Obama. What companionship you will have with him? You don't have any relationship. So the scriptures advise us, have you created a relationship with the divinity, with God? God is a very beautiful term, you know. From immemorial time in English it has been used. And Swami Vivekananda says, for not having a better word, I am using the word God so that everybody can understand this. So the God is that divinity that we are talking. And do we have any particular relationship with God? If you see ourselves and introspect ourselves, well, we have not created any relationship so far. So far means before starting your spiritual life. Then what life I have been leading all these days? I have been leading a religious life without any relationship with God. Going to church, going to temple, doing some of the rituals that are happening there. and then coming back to your home. And in home also you may light an incense stick, you may light a lamp, or you may read portions from the Bible. That's all. The religion is over there. But you have not created any relationship. So where you have not created any relationship, companionship cannot come. So this is a very important point that opens our mind to this idea that I must get a relationship with my God, with the divinity that I am worshipping. So what type of relationship are there? There are many, many types of relationships with God. So if you want God to be companion to you, and if you want your thoughts also should be fixed on God, then the rishis, the great sages and seers, they have classified the relationship into 5 categories. One is called Shanta. These are all called moods. The mood is a very beautiful word. In Sanskrit it is called bhava. If you can write it, you can write it down. Bhava. B-H-A-V-A. Bhava means mood. A mood, when you see your own child, a mood comes within you. When you see your husband or wife, a mood comes into you. And when you see your own servant who is working for you 24 hours, a mood comes in you. So this is called bhava. So the first relationship that you can have with God is Shanta Bhava. It's called peace attitude or peace mood. And then they classify the other 4 also, they bring it inside. The first is Shanta, peace. The second is Dasya. Dasya Bhava, servant attitude. I will go into details a little after this, after finishing the 5 names. So after Shanta, then Dasya. Dasya means Dasa. Dasa means I am servant. That attitude. So Dasya Bhava comes. Then comes Vatsalya. This is a very beautiful Bhava. Vatsalya. Vatsalya is that which attitude that comes between the parents and the children. Vice versa. Children's attitude towards their parents, parents' attitude towards the children. This is called Vatsalya. Then comes Sakhya. Shakha. Sakha, from that word it has come, Sakhya. Sakhya means friendly attitude. Think of God as your friend. How wonderful it is. And that attitude also is the 4th attitude. Then 5th attitude is Madhura Bhava. Madhura Bhava comes between 2 souls who are bound with love. So these 5 bhavas, the 5 relationship can you have. So any of the relationship one can adopt, or one or more relationship one person can, a spiritual aspirant can have at different timings. So any of the way that you take it, so the sages say that if you develop a particular relationship with God, then you are in the presence of God and God becomes your companion. So till I create a relationship, so first instance I told you this, Shanta Bhava. Shanta Bhava means peace attitude. This attitude is very suitable for monks. So you find most of the monks would have that peace attitude toward their God. Whoever they respect and worship, and they keep it like that. That peace attitude means not that the peace that we are talking about outside world. Peace attitude is that, oh Lord, I am part of you. So I am not something that you have to come and pick me up and redeem me from my sins. Nothing of that. I am part of you. That's all. So, and since I am part of you, whatever you do, whatever qualities you have, those qualities must also come into being. If divine qualities are your prerogative, then mine also should be like that. That is the peace attitude, Shanta. Then the Dasya is servant attitude. There are many examples are given how a spiritual aspirant can develop a servant attitude. Servant attitude in Hinduism we find Hanuman, one of the great monkey god. He is called, people say monkey god because he had a monkey body. So that Hanuman had the servant attitude to Sri Ram. So he had the great, and we find many of the Christian saints have developed the servant attitude to God. When they go to far off African jungles, and serve the people, they have this attitude that I am the servant of Jesus. So the servant attitude is one of the important attitudes that creates a relationship. And then I said Vasalya, the child and the mother. That is one of the beautiful concepts, that mother worship has been taken to the maximum level in Hinduism. The mother, as a divine mother, is a wonderful place. Recently I was in Russia, in St. Petersburg. I went to a cathedral there, and then nearby one room is there. A Saint Sergi was living there, and he passed away in that room. And then when we went there, it said there is a queue. About 2 hours we had to stand in the queue. It was a beautiful sunny day, and we were all standing in the queue, and slowly my turn also came to go inside, and we went inside. Before going there, I met some of the people there, so I asked them, was conversing with them, what is the importance of this place? Why people are standing in the queue? They said, no, in that very place, Saint Sergi was living, and he has seen the Divine Mother, Mary, in that very place. And she came with 2 disciples of Jesus. So he has expressed that this is the place. So when you go there, you can understand what a beautiful atmosphere is there. A spiritual atmosphere, you are actually charged with spirituality. So here the relationship mother and son. So likewise, we can also have a mother-son relationship with God. God is considered not only as father, Tomeva Mata cha Pita Tomeva. The verse says in Sanskrit that thou art my mother, thou art my father also. So father and mother both are God. So in that way, I can think of God as father, I can think of God as mother also. So whatever way you think, whether father or mother, it doesn't matter. But what matters is the relationship a child has got with his parents. And vice versa, as I told the parents, how they look. This was a question posed by one of the devotees there, that he asked me in the discussion time, that I can understand children having a relationship with the mother and thinking how mother is all for the child. And mother, it's the relationship to the child. What do you call that? I call the same Vasalya. In Vasalya Bhava is such a thing that both the things are included in that, and a child's attitude towards his mother and mother's attitude to child are nothing but 2 different sides of the same coin. It's only this side and that side. That's all. So Vasalya Bhava. Then this Sakya Bhava comes, friendly attitude. This friendly attitude is something important. We find that in scriptures that Lord Krishna and his disciple Arjuna, who was a fighter, warrior, and what they had a relationship, that was a friendly relationship. So this friendly relationship is what important for us in our lives, to get God as our companion. Who is a companion? Divine companion is a topic today. Who is a companion? Companion is one who accompanies you, who gives you company. You know company. Not the private limited companies I'm talking about. The company means that be with. That is called companion. So how can you get a companion? This fourth bhava that I was telling, the Sakya bhava, the friendly relationship, the friendly attitude, that brings God towards to you. In all the other aspects, other attitudes, you have to strive again and again and again. But then in the companion attitude, God Himself comes. So you can say, they lived with God and God lived with them. Two types of attitudes are there. I can think of God all the time. I might do all my spiritual practices and I'm thinking God. So I am living with God. But whether I think or not is not the question at all. Without any condition, God comes and lives with me. This idea is called companionship. Who is my companion? God is my companion. Can we say very forcefully and boldly, God is my companion? And before that we have made so many other companions. All the companions in your life, if you turn back and turn the pages of your life, you will see many companions actually betrayed you. Many whom you thought he is the best companion for my life, he is no more. They have left. And now you understand, if I had only believed in God, and if God could be the companion to me, how wonderful it would be. You find this, how do you develop this companionship of God? How do you make God to be your companion? So, in Bhakti scriptures, this particular point has been well analyzed. And they give one by one method how you can make God your company. So the first idea that they give is that listening, called Shravana. Shravana means listening. How many times in a day you listen about God? There are people who do not go to any temples, any churches, any mosques. There are millions of people out there. Swami was telling the other day that in Ireland itself, that there is a group which is coming up in big way, if you take census, that non-believers. And they don't want to believe in anything. They are not attached to any religion. They are just, the number is growing. That means I don't want to even hear about God. That is the attitude you are developing. So how can you expect that at some moment that you want that God to be with you? Because you don't want to hear about Him. Do we hear about Him? One couple we saw from New Zealand, and the couple, they are Christians and whites, and they are telling us that in their homes, every day, his father and mother used to sit and read the Gospel of Sri Ramakrishna. So he says, from childhood onwards, I grew up in hearing about Ramakrishna. All the time they will talk about him, and when we sit for the lunch and supper together, they would talk about some stories they will say about Ramakrishna. So I did not know anything. I grew up in a different way. So when I heard from my parents every day something about Ramakrishna, I was also thinking, who is this Ramakrishna? Let me know more about him. So he became a devotee of the Ramakrishna mission in New Zealand. So you find that the hearing plays a very big part. Are we able to give our children this? Are you able to give the children the idea of God? Parents are ashamed to talk about God to the children. I really surprised when I see such parents. They say, no, we don't tell anything about God to our children. Then how do you expect the child to come to the God's path? It is a big, major problem in Western countries. The children are not made to listen about. So the listening is the first priority. You must listen. That's why we tell when there is an ashram, when there is a center, when there is a Vedanta centers or yoga centers, etc. When you go there, listen. Carefully listen again and again and again. So what you listen is slowly will go and sink in the brain. Once it sinks and goes into the subconscious level of your mind, then of course no problem. So that will be working. And it will come out at the exact time when it is needed. So the listening, Shravana, is a very important activity of the. So many people, nowadays they put on the player, and the player itself, you can put a lot of hymns are available nowadays. So many people have chanted. You can just put that. I asked one person, do you read Gita? He said, no, I don't read Gita. Then what do you do? So I hear Gita. I said, how? I got in my phone. I put it on and then do other words, and the Gita is being chanted by the phone. So I can hear that. I appreciated that because he is at least hearing that. The first step to get the God be your companion, at least he is listening. How many people have the opportunity to listen about God? If you think about that, you will be surprised. Even you see, for our this spiritual retreat, how many could apply and how many could ultimately come? There are people who applied and who paid money but could not come. Because the listening opportunity is lost. So Shravana, that is the first step a spiritual aspirant should take. When you read a book, a spiritual book, I would tell you, if it is not disturbing others, read it aloud. Why I am telling you, you are listening that when you are reading it aloud. So it helps you that listening. Unless you listen properly, you will not be able to understand the meanings. That's why they say in India, the tradition came, all the scriptures are to be chanted. They have a particular meter. In that meter you have to chant. Chant and chant and chant. Why you have to chant loudly? So that your own ears are listening to that. And then if others are around you, they can also listen. So closing your mouth and you are reading, it's likely that your eyes leave one complete sentence out, which may be a life-changing sentence for you. So you will lose that. So better if you loudly say that. If you read your books loudly in your home, without disturbing attention, even very low tone, if you can read it, you will find that some new meanings of those sentences are appearing in your mind. While listening, what happens is, the brain is activated. When you read, closing your mouth, at that time, the brain may think other things also. So when you are reading a book, not that 100% concentration you will get on the sentences that you are reading. But when you are allowed, when you are speaking, when you are reading it loudly, then the brain is activated and it is not allowed to go to here and there. And the mind gets easy concentration. That's why you see, by-hearting of tables, mathematical tables, are given to children by telling them loudly, 2 into 2, 4, 2 into 3, 6. Like that we say. Why we are teaching children like that in kindergarten? By loudly saying that, it goes and sets in the mind. So Shravana is a very important thing. Now, second very important method that we can adopt to make God our companion is that he should be thought of. It's called manana. So the thinking is what we are lacking. Maybe we are even listening properly, but then on our own, except the particular space that we have allotted for God, other than that we don't think. So now thinking has to be increased. How do you increase the thinking? That is why Sri Ramakrishna advises in the Gospel of Ramakrishna. He says that time to time go into solitude, observe silence. And this spiritual retreat is meant for that. We have created the spiritual retreat for all of you so that you can start practicing this manana. Unless absolutely is required, do not talk. Keep as far as possible these 2.5 days. As far as possible, just keep silent. You don't need to talk to anybody else. And you don't need to talk about any other matter. So try to do the manana, keeping within your mind the thought of divinity. Just keep it. Whatever way that you worship your God, just think of that God, that principle. After this manana, pada sevana, there are total 9 paths. I am not telling about the 9 methods, all the methods. Just I am giving you important things. Pada sevana is service to God. So our sages say, service to God takes, not only you go to a particular temple, sit there and do some ritual. That is also a service to God, okay. But then God is within all the beings, all the living beings. So God is moving around me. Can I do some service to them? If a sick person is there, can I take a glass of water and give him? Can I just find out that, oh, you are sick, let me take you the medicine, please take it. An illiterate man comes, he doesn't know anything. Okay, I'm telling you, even literate people. See, I had a great desire. I told the Swami that I want to learn Irish language. How do you learn? So one of our devotees, Brian, he said, I will teach you. He knows a lot of Irish language. You know, many Irish people do not know Irish language. Not that if you are Irish, means you know Irish, you can speak Irish. It's not so. So he says, he can speak, he can write, he can read. So he said, Swamiji, I will teach you. I said, okay. So from 19th onwards, the class is going to start at the Nivedita house. If you are interested, you can come and join. So many are going to come, I think so. So, even if you know certain things, this is a great pada seva of that devotee. He thinks, these people are interested to learn something, let me go and teach what I know. That's why Swamiji also is teaching yoga to all the yoga teachers how. Because what he knows, that must be transmitted. That must be given to another person. So this is one kind of seva to Lord. I am maybe teaching to you, say Vedanta class if I take, I may teach you. But then, that is not merely teaching. From my side, it is my seva, my service to the Lord. So each of your actions, if you can convert it into thinking that it is my service to the Lord, so this comes under friendly relation. If somebody is friend, I will do anything for that friend. That's what we say. A friend in need is friend indeed, they say. But then, a friend indeed means not indeed, not separately, it's one word, indeed. Friend in need is friend indeed. But then, not only those in needful times, but other times also a friend is a friend. One can do anything for a friend. So Lord looks after you and looks at you and sees you whether you are able to do seva, service to that person whom He is sending to you. So He is always making us meet people, strangers, and different types of people come to us. And He looks at, and then He is watching us whether I am able to behave with that person properly. If I don't behave with the person, then that person is not friendly to me. That is what the idea of Lord. The God will think that this person is not friendly to me. Why should I be a companion to him? So He will look at you and see that whether you are friendly to everybody. If you are friendly to God, you must be friendly to everyone. because God is everyone. So there are many instances we find in the great, and that one sage was there, Guru Nanak. He is the leader of the Sikhism. You know that in India, the Punjab state, if you go, there is a particular group. Here also in Ireland also a lot of Sikhs are there. They wear a turban. And their guru is that Guru Nanak. He was sitting in a temple. He became very old. And he was slanting on a pillar and putting his feet like this. And he was sitting on the ground. And where he has put the feet, and there the idol is there. The God's idol is there. So one lady came and told, "Hey Guru Nanak, what you are doing? You have put your feet towards God." Guru Nanak said, "Tell me a particular direction where God is not. I can turn my feet there." So the lady was put to shame. Which place, which direction? God is not there. God is everywhere. So if He is everywhere, and if He is in everywhere, everyone, there's the prayer. Today we had the prayer after our Vesper service. We were chanting the prayer, one prayer. God is in front of me. God is behind me. God is in my right side. God is in my left side. And it goes on and it comes to the ending that God is in me. So if God is in me, God is within you also. And how do I develop a relationship with all the people that who come across, and I behave with them? These are very important matters. We do not generally pay attention. When you go out, when you go to the railway station, when you go to the bus station, when you meet people, strangers, how do you meet and how do you talk to them? And what is your feeling? Do you think that God is coming in this form and is trying to tell me something? Yes, God can come in many forms. He can come in the form of a bird. He can come in the form of a leaf. He can come in the form of a feather. So any form He can take, and He can give you a news. A thing He will tell you. At that time it will strike your mind, this is what it means. So one of the Swamis I met, I asked him, how did you become a monk? What made you to leave your house, hold everything, and then become a monk? Then he said, you see, I didn't know. I was thinking to become monk for a long time, but then I was not able to come out of my house because I was staying with my sister, eldest sister, who is like my mother to me. From childhood onwards, I lost my mother, and then she is my mother. So she had a small daughter. And the daughter, only 2-3 years old, and the daughter used to like a bird. And the bird will come and then she would feed, the crow. The crow is a very ordinary bird in India, everywhere you get crow. So she would feed the crow would come and sit. One day, I wanted to leave my house and renounce my house. How do I go away? I am not getting any indication. And then one day I was standing outside. On that day, that little girl came with something in her hand. And when she came there, immediately the crow came. And the crow was eating it. And the girl went inside. And I am looking at the crow. The crow, after eating, it was standing there only. And looking at me, and I am looking at the crow. At that time, a question came in my mind, should I leave now? And the crow immediately called. And then I understood, the crow is telling me, get out now. So I left. You see, even the birds can speak to you like that. The crow knew his thought or not, I do not know that. But what I mean to say here is, because you have developed an attitude of seeing God in everything, and the God will speak to you according to its nature. If He comes in the form of a crow, will He roar? He can't roar, He can only call. So, whatever type of creatures God comes before us, and He will speak to that in that language. But you must interpret it. So, this the idea that God should be companion to me must come with the Pada Sevana. And there is another is Vandana. It's also very important. Vandana means I am bowing down. In many places, this bowing down has become very, very less. In any holy place if you go, many people I see just like standing there. Okay, they are thinking of God inside their mind. It may be, I cannot find fault with that. But can't they take their two palms together and put together and then bow down their head before that mighty? God is mighty, almighty we say. Is it not? That's why we say almighty. It's almighty, powerful, all powerful, omnipotent, and that is God. And before Him you go and stand there, and you stand like a beauty general. You don't bow down. How is it? So bowing down, this Vandana is very important. We bow down. And there are places where we find we bow down, we go onto your knees and then bow down and touch your head on the ground. Why on the ground? Because this bhumi, this earth, is itself a personification of God. You know who God is what if you say all the five elements God is pervading. God is in the space. Number one. God is in fire. Second. God is in water. 3. And God is in Prithvi, that is this earth. 4th. And then God is in wind. 5th. All the five elements are known in Vedanta as a primordial elements. These are the five elements. Akashat, Vayu, Vayor, Agni, Agner, Apah, Apah, Prithvi. It says how the world came into being. The Vedas say, first there was a space. Space was there. And then from space one by one, all the five elements came. So they are called primordial elements, the original elements. And these five elements came together, according to Vedanta, in different compositions, permutation combinations, different. And in that ratio, the entire world has come up. So everywhere you find everything you take here, all the five elements are there. Even in our own body, if you see, all the five elements are there. So anything you take in this vast universe, the five elements must be there. So in each element He is there. How that God is present in each element? So one sage says that God is present on the earth as solidity, solidifying factor. The earth is not water, it is solid. So the solidity is the factor that God is present on the earth. If that God is not there, the earth will not be like this. It won't be solid. How is He present in fire? In fire, He is present as flames, as heat. If there is no heat, that cannot be called fire. Fire must have heat. So as a heat, He is present there. In water, as a running of the water, that is what He is present there. The water will run. It will go from place to place. And it has got the capacity to wet everything. That is the principle of God, that who stays in the water. And in the wind, the breeze, we say prana. Prana means we loosely translate as a wind. It's not that. Prana is much more intense. If you see intensely about prana, study intensely, then you will see it has got further meanings are there. Now this prana has got a life force. It is translated in English as life force. So the life force also is able to act. That power to act the life force is what God? In prana. So in prana also He stays. Like that in space He is there, everywhere. So God is present in all the five elements. And the five elements have got to be given that prestige, that understanding in our mind that God is present here. Why do you light a lamp? This lamp gives Jyoti. Jyoti or Jyoti, that's what we sing. And that Jyoti means that light, that bright lightness coming. Because in that fire, God is present. So if you take all religions and come and take the worshipping methods, you will be surprised to see that any type of worship methods all can be brought into one group, that is the 5 elements. Any type of worship you see, it has to be within these 5 elements only. Some may give fire importance, like Parsis. Some may give water importance. Some may give air importance. Whatever importance you give to whatever element, all within 5 elements, this all will come. So that's why we bow down to the earth, thinking that here God is. Likewise, so this is another one. And if you see likewise from thinking of God as He is my companion, apart from this, the last one I should say, the prayer. A prayer, we have got lots of different prayers, Prayers are different types also. Extremely different types of prayers are there. Some prayers are only asking. Oh God, give me this, give me that, give me that. Certain prayers are asking for objects. Certain prayers are for asking for qualities. Oh God, thou art infinite, thou art peaceful, so give me peace. That qualities also we can ask. Certain prayers are there where we do not ask anything. Even that comes under the category of prayer. You only praise, no asking. So you don't stand before God and ask for something, nothing. So I do not want anything. Why you do not want anything? Because I have got you yourself. You are in my mind and you are within me. I am able to feel that you are in my heart. So why should I demand other things from you? You are capable of giving everything that I ask. But no, I do not want to ask anything. So this type of feeling, this type of prayer, when it comes, then God becomes your true companion. And wherever you go, whatever way, whatever work you do, and whatever way you live, you can think that God is with you. So this is the divine companion. A few thoughts just to introduce the subject as well as to provocate you to think more in this subject. As Maharaj said, some 10 minutes are there. I can get either your reaction or any question or any observation or remarks. If you have, you can share with us. Yes.
I think it's very interesting when you talk about the relationship that we have with, for example, God or through the divine truth, Sri Ramakrishna. And ritual is important and prayer is important, but what's your view on perhaps breaking that ritual but yet taking God with you through the day? In other words, the importance of acting it during the day rather than actually doing the ritual. Because sometimes there's a sense of guilt that you didn't prepare your time properly. But yet if you have Sri Ramakrishna in your mind during the day, just that balance. What's your view on that?
So that depends upon what type of rituals you have adopted in your spiritual life. Have you taken elaborate form of ritualism in your life? In some of the religious bodies, you find there are elaborate methods of ritualism is there. So early morning you have to get up and then you have to take out that form of God that you have, and then you have to do some puja, which is called worship, and then you have to cook separately in separate vessels and then offer it to that God. And like that the whole day, an elaborate ritualism is there. Are you bound with that type of ritualism? Then, if you are bound with that type of ritual, nothing bad in that. that ritualism itself will take you to go beyond the ritualism. The rituals actually are a means to go beyond to a state where ritualism will no more exist, where you and your Ishta, that is your God, only alone remain. So that will take you, that may take even several births. Not necessarily in one birth you can attain, it may take several births. But if you have minimalist rituals as given in our tradition, in Ramakrishna tradition, we always advise minimalist rituals. We don't give elaborate ritualism. So if you have the minimal ritualism, say for instance, if you have taken Diksha from a Guru, Guru will tell you, twice in a day, 108 times, do japa. Now that also many people are not able to do. They have taken Diksha, initiation they have taken, but they are unable to do twice. So once only they could do, and then another one they are unable to do, then what is the matter? If I don't do that, will any sin I will incur? So we say no, you won't incur any sin. You pray on that night before going to bed. Pray to Ramakrishna. Oh Ramakrishna, oh Father, I could not do another time the japa, so please excuse me. Please give me the power to do it twice every day. By your grace, may do it later. So like that you can pray. So in that way you can come out of that. Yes?
I have a question.
Yes.
I have a few questions, but one's relating to something you shared earlier, Swami, when you were talking about going into the silence, and you said the darkness of silence, and I wondered about the analogy of why we have silence as darkness.
Silence of darkness.
I've never been to the Sahara Desert, but I'm told you go there at night, only the stars above, and for miles and miles no activity, no wind. In that darkness we find silence. So the whole idea of when we think of God or meditate, concentrate on the divine, closing the eyes, it means let's take away all external distractions. And so we can characterize, just as an analogy, to say that silence has a certain darkness. When darkness covered darkness, in the beginning, when nothing was there and darkness covered darkness is the wonderful, wonderful statement in the Vedas. So that's just what it is. It gives just the impression of no movement whatsoever. But I also want to make a comment there. You see, the word karma applies to rituals and activities. So all your activities throughout the day can be done with various degrees of mindfulness. Mindfulness is a big subject today. And so you could do something carelessly. And I always use the analogy of a Japanese tea ceremony. So you can make tea in two different ways, at least two different ways. You can slap a tea bag in a cup and ruthlessly pour water on the top, and then mindlessly drink the thing. Or you can do something like the Japanese tea ceremony. That's a ritual, but it's done mindfully. Of course, even that can be done mindlessly. You know, the term mindful has two meanings. Either the mind is full completely, in which case there's no concentration, or it's mindful, that is doing everything with full attention, steering the awareness and attention in a certain direction, in a directed way, consciously directed way. So all activities, if you can do them in a consciously directed way, and you can do them without any anxiety in the future, this is called karma yoga. And when you join karma bhakti and do all these actions for the Lord, is it not the same as lighting a lamp? Instead of switch on and generating a light here, you light a lamp. What's the difference? You turn the computer on, and you turn another light on. What's the difference? You sit at the office and you sit at the shrine. What's the difference? Of course, the difference is the one has a specific purpose in mind. That purpose, when you bring it to daily activity, this can also be a worship. So the whole idea is that there should be no dissociation. We tend to think that the secularism and spirituality are two separate areas. Like Maharaj says, you know, you go to the church or the temple or what have you, and that's your job done. And thereafter go to the pub. You know, that's the routine. Go to the church and then the pub. In Zimbabwe, when all the population go to their churches, they're prepared to stay there 3, 4, 5 hours. It's a family day. But here in Ireland, I was surprised to see, oh, Father Murphy, no, don't go to his church. It takes 30 minutes to be in and out, 10 minutes, 10 minutes back. That's it. Do your duty, then you're religious. This transition is beautifully put. The transition between, you know, religion and spirituality. So when you make all this ritualism mindlessly, Bhagavad Gita tells us this in the 12th chapter as well. That you can do all this ritual, that's fine, that's good. But better is to do it with an understanding, some understanding in mind. And better still than that is meditation. And better still is offering the fruits of all your activities to the divine. So the question of practice, cultivating an atmosphere of adoration, wonder and thankfulness throughout the day, throughout your waking life. And seeing as we are all suffering from forgetfulness, then our antidote is what's called abhyasa, constant remembrance, constant practice, bringing the mind back.
If no other question, then I can come to the conclusion. Okay.
Swamiji, you're talking about the many types of relationships, like Vatsalya Bhava or friendship Bhava or Madhura Bhava, whatever. When we implement that with human beings, there's a reciprocation, so it's much easier. But when we do it to God, beyond a point we lose motivation. Although we do it, we try Him thinking as a friend or a child or we being a child. Where is the motivation? Because we don't get any reciprocation. Maybe we are not that receptive enough at this point of stage.
Yes, that's a very good point that you raised, because if I have, say, Deepak as my friend, and I show him as a friendly gesture something, and I know that he will also show me next day something friendly. So I can see palpably that there is a friend.
Yeah.
But with God, I don't see anything. He doesn't come before me and be a friend to me. That is where the question comes.
Yes.
But you see, that comes because till now, I am only at the practicing stage and not to the siddha, that is the fulfillment of that stage. We have not come to the final stage of our final step of the stage. Then only we will know that God is with me and God is doing me all these things. You see, otherwise we will not know at all. So how we will know that how God is with you? Tulsidas, one great saint in India, he wrote that Rama's story, Ramayana, in Hindi he wrote. He was sitting in his house and 2 robbers came. And he didn't know that robbers have come. He is inside the room and sleeping in the night, midnight he was sleeping. And the robbers came. But then there was some fighting going on outside. Then he got up. What is this fighting going on? Then he looked through the window outside. The 2 robbers are fighting somebody. The somebody whom they are fighting with, that person is not visible to him, but then they are all driven out from that place. Later he realized Rama himself came there on that day and then fought with these robbers and drew them out. So likewise, certain experiences in your life will tell you, yes, here I am, God will tell you. So you are not able to see him because he is formless. So he is all forms. So he may come in another form also. He will come in a form of bhikhari, a beggar, and he will tell you something. He will come in, as I told you, a crow can give the answer to your son, monk, to become a monk. So he may come in any form. But to see him and accept him in that form is difficult, but that's why the practice of this listening and manana must continue. Okay, then I conclude. Om Shanti 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 Hari Om Tatsat Sri Rama Krishna Arpanamastu.